Today, I want to talk about something most people never see coming until it has already cost them. The 7 traps your employer is quietly counting on you not to understand. Here is the uncomfortable truth about workplace disputes. When an employee loses a fight with their company, it is almost never because they were wrong. Most of the time, if you are upset enough to raise an issue, there is something real underneath it. You lose anyway, though, because while you are focused on what happened to you, your employer is already several moves ahead, setting up obstacles you cannot even see. It is a game. And the cruelest part is that most people have no idea they are even playing. I am Dre, and on this channel, I spend my time pulling back the curtain on how the corporate world actually works, not the polished version it sells you in the handbook. So let us walk through these traps one by one, because the moment you can see a trap clearly, it stops working on you. Before we get into it, do me a quick favor. If this kind of breakdown is useful to you, tap the like button, and if you have not subscribed yet, take a second to do that now. It genuinely helps this channel grow, and I appreciate every one of you who does it. All right, trap number 1. You cannot take your employer straight to court. This one catches people completely off guard, and it is one of the most expensive things you can fail to know. If you are dealing with discrimination, harassment, or retaliation, you generally cannot just walk into a courthouse and file a lawsuit. In almost every case, you first have to bring your complaint to a government agency called the EEOC. And here is the part that should bother you. Your employer is under no obligation to tell you any of this. It gets worse. The window to file is short, often a matter of months, not years. Once that deadline passes, it is gone. There is no extension, no appeal, no second chance, no matter how badly you were treated. The claim simply dies on the calendar. Employers know this, and a quiet, patient delay costs them nothing while it costs you everything. This is exactly why a company will tell you they are handling things internally and just need a little more time. Sometimes they genuinely mean it, but while they are talking, your filing clock keeps running. And if that deadline slips by while you are waiting patiently for them to make things right, your right to ever sue over that issue is finished. So understand that the agency exists. Understand the deadline is real, and never let an internal process quietly run out your legal time. Trap number 2. A real complaint forces your employer to investigate, but nobody defines what that means. When you bring a complaint about discrimination, harassment, or retaliation, and you tie it directly to something like your age, race, sex, disability, or religion, the company is legally required to respond. They have to conduct a prompt and thorough investigation. That sounds protective. Here is the loophole. There is no legal standard for what thorough actually looks like. None. So a lot of employers do the absolute minimum and stay perfectly within the law. They interview one person, maybe nobody. They take thin, vague notes. They quietly skip the details that would hurt the company. They take your supervisor's version at face value. And then they come back with the line you have probably heard before, that they were unable to substantiate your concerns. Legally, that is often enough. The law asked for an investigation, and technically, they ran one. So here is what you do. When you raise the issue, be specific and name the protected reason out loud, whether that is age, race, gender, disability, or something else. That specific language is what triggers their obligation. But do not stop there. Run your own investigation in parallel. Keep your own notes, dated and detailed. Ask coworkers who witnessed things to send you a short message or email describing what they saw. Save everything. Because here is the reality of how this plays out. HR's file is built to protect the company. Your file is the only one built to protect you. And the side with the better record almost always controls the story when things get serious. Trap number 3. HR is not on your side. A lot of people walk into HR and get comfortable because they assume HR is a neutral referee. It is not. HR exists for risk management, and the risk they are managing is risk to the company. Their job involves documenting your conduct, weighing your credibility, and gathering information that can later be used to defend the business, sometimes against you. This is not about HR being made up of bad people. It is simply the role they were hired to play. But understanding that does not mean you skip them. You still have to report your problems through the proper channel, because if you stay silent, you hand the company a perfect defense. They get to say they could not possibly fix a problem they were never told about. So go to HR, follow the process, create the record. Just do it with your eyes open. Treat every single conversation with HR as if it could one day be read aloud in a courtroom. Stick to facts, keep it specific, and never assume a friendly tone in the room means the file being written about you is friendly too. Trap number 4, the offer to resign instead of being fired. This one is dressed up to look like kindness. Things at work have come to a head. Both sides know the relationship is over, and the company says something like, "We will be willing to let you resign rather than terminate you." It sounds generous. It is not a gift. It is strategy, and the strategy serves the company. When you resign, you give up an enormous amount. You hand them protection against a wrongful termination claim, because if you quit, there technically was no firing. You can put your unemployment benefits at risk, since leaving voluntarily often disqualifies you, and you weaken your entire legal position in one move. Now, somebody always brings up constructive discharge, the idea that conditions were so unbearable that quitting counts as being forced out. Be honest with yourself about that. Constructive discharge is extremely hard to prove. Judges throw those claims out regularly. A company that hates litigation might still settle with you, but the odds of that drop sharply the moment you have already walked away on your own, because now they know they hold the leverage. So if you are ever offered that choice, do not answer in the room. Talk to an employment attorney first. At a minimum, a lawyer can try to negotiate a severance for you. The frustrating calls are the ones that come in after someone has already resigned, because by then, the strongest decision has already been made, and it was made without advice. If a company wants you gone, let them own that decision. If it is a termination, make them call it a termination. And if you truly have no other option, at the very least, negotiate something on the way out, even if it is only a couple of weeks of pay. Do not just hand them a clean exit for free. They are asking you to give up your leverage. So if you are giving it up, make sure you are getting something real in return. Trap number 5. The anonymous survey is not anonymous. If you have ever filled one out, part of you already suspected this. Employers can read patterns. They see which department a response came from. They notice timing. And when you write out a paragraph in your own words, they often recognize how you talk. So my point is not that you should refuse to participate. My point is simpler. Fill it out as if you are speaking directly to the person you are frustrated with, because functionally, you might be. If you would not say it to their face, do not type it into a survey box and assume the mask will hold. The anonymity is a feeling, not a guarantee, and treating it like a guarantee is exactly the mistake they are counting on. Trap number 6. Retaliation is real, and it starts the moment they decide you are a threat. Let me show you exactly where retaliation usually begins. Say you go to HR and you say, "I think my supervisor is harassing me," or "My supervisor is discriminating against me." And then you stop there. You stay vague. You never name a protected reason. Here is the problem. If your complaint is not connected to a protected category, it may not count as a legally protected complaint at all. But the company still understands exactly what you are circling around, and being treated unfairly on its own is not illegal. A boss can be harsh, unpleasant, and unfair without breaking any law. What the law protects against is unfair treatment because of your age, race, sex, disability, religion, or another protected class. So when you go in and dance around the issue, hinting without ever saying it plainly, they hear it. And that is often the exact moment retaliation begins, because they would rather push you out before you find the courage to say it clearly and put them on the hook for a real investigation. And if they fire you after a valid, specific complaint, that is when you have a strong retaliation claim. Retaliation cases are some of the easiest to prove because they come down to timing. You raised a protected complaint, and shortly after, the bad treatment started. That timeline tells the story on its own. Retaliation rarely opens with the firing, though. It starts small. Your schedule shifts. Your responsibilities change. Opportunities quietly stop coming your way. You get isolated. Suddenly, there are negative reviews and meetings about your attitude that never existed before. They are building a paper trail, one small entry at a time, so that by the time they remove you, it looks like a long, reasonable process instead of a reaction to your complaint. So document everything. Save the dates and watch the timing closely. Because in a retaliation case, the timing almost always tells the truth. Trap number 7, the Performance Improvement Plan. A Performance Improvement Plan, or PIP, is often sold as support. In reality, employers frequently use it as a tool to build a paper trail. There are honest exceptions where a manager genuinely wants you to succeed, but a large share of PIPs are not designed to help you improve at all. They are designed to document you out the door, with goals that are vague, timelines that are tight, and a finish line that quietly keeps moving. The PIP hands the company its justification. They get to say they gave you every chance, that they put you on a structured plan, and you still did not turn it around. Here is the tell. If a PIP lands on your desk right after you raised a complaint, that is not coaching. That is retaliation, plain and simple. And if it happens and you have already filed a charge, file a second one for retaliation, because retaliation is its own separate claim and deserves its own filing. So here is what all 7 traps have in common. The workplace was never a neutral place. Your employer walked in with a strategy, and until now, you may have walked in without one. That is the entire reason I make these videos. Once you can name these traps, you stop stepping into them by accident, and you start making decisions with your eyes fully open. Knowledge really is leverage, and leverage is the one thing your employer would prefer you never pick up. If this helped you see your own workplace a little more clearly, do me that favor and subscribe before you go, so the next breakdown lands right in your feed. I will see you in the next one.